We are connecting, and now we are Groot. Which could mean live because their entire language is just Groot with different inflection. We are Groot. This is movie shit. I will give some people a little time to file in. By that I mean I'm gonna open up a Twitch window, give people some time to look at the hot new aesthetic I got going right now. And all that good jazz. And maybe not murder my upload speed by stopping some uploads on some stuff so the stream can run smoothly. And this is just me bullshitting. You guys want to hear some news? Because YouTube, impatient. Twitch, patient. Willow's gonna totally slap me later. That makes sense if you stop by the Twitch version broadcast. Anywho, without any further ado, let's fucking do this shit. Obviously, you heard Willow is here, but for the people who don't know, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Willow Red Raven.
You sounded so stressed.
So what? I am the opinion that doesn't know too much about the movie news, so I am the every woman's opinion, not the movie critic's opinion.
The every woman's opinion?
Well, I can't say every man. It's a saying. Go with it.
I mean, you can speak for, like, 10% if we want to go there. I know what I just said. Anywho, a couple days ago, news came out that Disney was acquiring a majority stake in a streaming technology company in preparations of its plans on launching its own streaming service in 2019. We actually did part one of this story on Thursday's movie shit. Anywho, Disney CEO Bob Iger revealed that starting with 2019's new releases like the upcoming Toy Story 4, Frozen 2, and the live action, which is totally animated just with realistic looking CG Lion King, Disney movies would be streaming exclusively at this service. This came in wake of a deal that Disney struck with Netflix back in 2012 that secured Netflix as the exclusive streaming home to Disney and Disney-owned releases from Marvel and Lucasfilm. But it seems Disney realized that instead of paying someone to share their toys in the proverbial streaming sandbox, they could just make their own sandbox and reap the benefits. However, it appears Netflix isn't quite done playing with Disney's toys and have sparked negotiations with Disney to keep Marvel and Lucasfilm properties on their service. Now, speaking of Marvel and Lucasfilm properties, the big question lies in the fate of these properties. Is Bob Iger has only singled out Disney and Pixar films as the films that would launch, at least initially, on this new streaming service in 2019. Also, at the time, Iger proposed the possibility of launching separate streaming services for both Marvel and Lucasfilm movies. And here's a quote. There have been talk about launching a proprietary Marvel service and Star Wars service, Iger says, but we're mindful of the volume of the product that would go into those services. We want to be careful about that. We've also thought about including Marvel and Star Wars as part of the Disney-branded service. But there we want to be mindful of the Star Wars fan, the Marvel fan, and to what extent those fans overlap with Disney fans or are completely separate and incremental to Disney. So it's all in discussion. End quote. Now, with that all being said, how would you feel about the possibility of both Netflix pulling off this negotiation and somehow keeping the rights to stream Lucasfilm and Marvel films, or Disney hypothetically, of course, having 3 streaming services under their belt, being the Disney Pixar films, one exclusively for Marvel and one exclusively for Star Wars?
Oh.
I know, wordy, right? So let's just break this up. The possibility of Netflix pulling off this, like, wait, don't leave, at least let us keep Marvel and Star Wars over here.
Right, because we really love our Netflix exclusive Marvel specials.
Yes. Although they did make
about.
clear that the Defenders, at least at the time being, is a whole separate deal.
Okay.
So from the way I understand it, the Defenders would still be there, but any like Marvel Disney XD show or some form of Marvel movie, anything else under that brand, any new Star Wars show that would premiere on Disney XD or any of those platforms, ABC, or a movie, would have their own individual service, or they wouldn't be on Netflix.
But Disney having 3 streaming services?
I mean, you have to think about it from, like, just playing devil's advocate here. Think of it from their perspective. Right. Of what is the overlap between someone who'd watch Disney and Pixar films as opposed to someone who would just watch Marvel films or Star Wars films.
Correct. There's a different audience.
However, at the same time, there's a lot more overlap between Marvel and Star Wars than there is, say, Pixar and Star Wars or Pixar and Marvel.
Right.
So, we'd have to think, though, that would be at least, if they're pricing competitively, $25, $30 for all 3 services. And Disney would go, that's a month per customer that decides to want our entire movie library.
Right.
Because the thing with Netflix is I'm sure they'd be fine, but kind of like how most people, like the people who got hurt initially when this deal was struck was Stars, because up through Stars had like the exclusive rights to broadcast Marvel and Lucasfilm movies up through 2016. Then any releases from 2016 to, I guess, 2018 would be on Netflix. And now if this goes through, anything past that point would be Disney only.
Ah, okay.
I mean, I guess it'd be better.
It's still all hypothetical.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're talking about it, but Disney did make the move to acquire a streaming service company to go, hey, we want to do this. Which is the thing of, I think they're going to launch a service no matter what. It's just what they have on there is going to be what the speculation's going to be for a good little bit.
Yeah, they're at least doing at least the one service that they had mentioned.
Yes.
Starting next year. Year after.
Yeah. So, moving on to our next story. Now that Avatar 2 has finally started its productions, fans can finally look forward to more movies in the Avatar universe, because when I think the Avatar universe that started back in 2009, I think, holy shit, they're still shooting 4 of those movies back to back. Anyhow, as far as new characters in the franchise, we don't have a whole lot of information other than the original cast. Except for maybe some recent comments made by Josh Brolin, who revealed that he was offered a role in the Avatar sequels, but turned it down. And apparently this didn't sit well with director James Cameron. Willow, your thoughts on this?
I mean, Josh Brolin, he's a very busy guy. I'm not really surprised because, again, filming, was it 4 movies back to back?
Yeah, 3 or 4 movies back to back on location in New Zealand.
Yeah, that's and he's in how many works right now we know of?
He at least has to shoot the rest of Avengers 4 and anything else he'd be popping up during that little bit. And he also signed on for at least Deadpool 2 and might pop up in other things, the nature of Cable's character. So... And he's also just an in-demand Oscar actor in general, so...
Yeah. He's got a lot on his plate right now, so...
I'm not really too surprised by it, but from James Cameron's point of view, it's just like, you asked a mega talent being a legendary director you are, and he said no.
I guess they can sort that out themselves.
I'm pretty sure it was just like, hey, I'm busy, and that's that, and it is what it is.
Oh, yeah.
Now, Willow, I think you're maybe a little eager to talk about this next topic. One could say you stop being the every woman here.
So, while we were sorry to hear that Studio Ghibli's legendary animation company behind such films as My Neighbor Totoro, Howl's Moving Castle, and Spirited Away was closing its doors for an infinite hiatus, the Ghibli team never... Indefinite. Words.
I know.
Indefinite hiatus. The Ghibli team never quite went away, working on TV projects, lending its name to other companies' films, and even planning for a theme park. And now comes some really good news. The co-founder Hayao Miyazaki has decided to come out of retirement for a new project, and Ghibli will be back in full production to support the feature film. Like Steven Soderbergh, Miyazaki himself didn't ever fully retire, instead spending his time on a short entitled Kamiyashi no Boro the Caterpillar in English, for the Ghibli Museum. And inspired by his work on that, he had announced that he has intended to turn the project into a full-length animated movie. As a part of a small ceremony in this past July, Miyazaki brought involved in the film to talk about the idea, with the studio starting to recruit artists later that month. Training for new arrivals will kick off this October, and the film should properly be in production a few months after that. There's no official confirmation that the new project will be a full-length version of Boro, but we're just happy to see that his company are back at work to weave their particular magic on the screen once again. So, I'm looking forward to seeing more information about this as it comes out, but that's just the
I will be the first to admit I'm not very well versed in my Miyazaki, because I remember, I guess, being a kid and whenever Toonami would air like Spirited Away or Howl's Moving Castle, it wasn't like the Naruto or Dragon Ball Z that I wanted to watch that weekend or during that programming block, so I'd kind of be like, what's this weird shit? Like, it's not grabbing me, it's not interesting, where's the action, where's all that? It's not like I didn't like driven stories, it's just like if you go, oh hey, it's back in the olden days, kids, even though I'm 22. Back in the olden days, it went, yo, if this show was on at 7 p.m., you went to your TV and went, oh shit, 7 p.m., time to watch some Naruto, and the fuck is this shit? This is the worst movie ever made. Fuck you. But
I can see how a lot of Miyazaki would have come across as a bit more mellow, but it certain places does have its moments. Just involves a little more thought than just action.
Like, I just recently started getting a little more into Miyazaki because during the 20th anniversary thing of Princess Mononoke, I went to see that in theaters. That's when I realized my training as an actor kicked in, and I couldn't help but start picking apart the dub performance.
I don't think I've seen it dubbed.
Like, some of the people adapted, like, you know, a little more, got into the feel of it, and other people just not so much. That was a case of, you got talented screen actors, but not voice actors. And even within voice acting, dubbing's one of those things where people go, so you mean, for Prelay, I would have all the time in the world to maybe say this line, add my own personality to it, take my time, and the animator would wipe the lip flaps, do my actions to that. You're telling me I have to convey a previous emotion whilst injecting my own performance while hearing speak, and keep that within the mouth movements of that. and people sometimes can't do it. Especially if they're not musically inclined.
It's a skill.
So, I have a feeling if Disney were to release another Miyazaki film, which I think they have the rights to, or distribution rights anyway in the US, they'd probably, since they now have a wealth of voice actors under them, including ones from anime, they'd probably go, okay, these guys know what they're doing, this isn't their first rodeo. Because I couldn't see them talking to now Sony going, hey, can we use your Funimation division to voice this? They'd probably just more rent out Bang Zoom and go, well, a lot of you LA guys are talented, here you go.
Yeah, guess we'll find out later this year.
But Miyazaki's a man who doesn't like to retire. So one could say his retirement was bullshit. His announcement of a movie was cool shit. The name of our next segment, Bullshit or Cool Shit.
Great segue.
The greatest segue of all time. You'll only catch it here, live, or in the video on YouTube later, because that's how archiving works and all that stuff. So, our first topic of bullshit or cool shit. This past Wednesday, Lionsgate revealed that the upcoming reboot of Hellboy would be changing its title from Hellboy Rise of the Blood Queen to simply Hellboy, as reported by MovieWeb. In regards to the movie itself, it was reported earlier this week, which we covered, I believe, on either Tuesday or Thursday's movie shit, that star Mila Jovovich was in talks to play the villain of the movie, perhaps the Blood Queen herself, but not much about the reboot is known. Thoughts on the studio changing Hellboy from Hellboy Rise of the Blood Queen to simply Hellboy?
Well, I mean, isn't the average person was just gonna call it Hellboy anyway? I mean, a lot of movies with long titles get shortened by the public. It just made more sense anyway.
It's just Guillermo del Toro's initial Hellboy was also just called Hellboy.
Yeah, yes, it was. That probably may cause some confusion, but just put the year at the end of the title if you're trying to have a conversation with somebody.
Or I guess Hellboy Reboot or Stranger Things Hellboy, because I forget the actor's name off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like it when movies do have a tagline because there's that, but
I don't.
Especially if it's part of a franchise, you sort of like, hey, this one, but I think they're fully going, hey, Guillermo's vision's done. It'd be amazing if we could have seen it, but this is now Hellboy.
I'm fine with it.
I think maybe the thought process is something like Rise of the Blood Queen's a title you put after your initial movie.
So you're saying if they do a second one, then we can add more.
I mean, it's probably going to at least get a second one because Guillermo del Toro's got a second one. The only reason we didn't get a third is he spent a metric fuck ton of money on the second one.
Yes. Yes, he did.
Either lost the studio money or they only made a smidgen of it back, and he wanted double the budget of that movie to make his third installment. From a studio perspective, if you just barely made your money back and he's going, I want double the budget because my vision is this, and we all know financially, just because you throw twice the money at something doesn't mean you'll get twice the return back.
Nope.
So, any closing thoughts on the Hellboy story, or are we good?
I think we're good.
So, moving on, earlier this year, it was reported that the rights to the Terminator franchise would be returning to the one and only James Cameron in 2019, finally getting back into his fucking hands and not being ruined with reboot after reboot. Which, I have small side tangent here. Fucking Gen Wysis would have been fine had they not centered the marketing material around the twist of the movie. Because even the poster showed the twist. And I feel like the movie would have been a little forgiven had they kept that twist a secret. So maybe for people who just see the title and don't see the cover or anything, like, don't read a synopsis, just see Terminator Genesis, walk in, turn it on, you might be pleasantly surprised by the twist. Because it did like the thing of they went back to the first movie, and you had old Arnold and new Arnold. Like, you had young-looking Arnold and older-looking Arnold and all that stuff. Like, the concepts were cool. It's just, it was a run-in-the-mill action movie with something as great as the Terminator franchise, which is where a lot of people, especially in the 90s and late 80s, took inspiration from for their sci-fi films and media. Anywho, James Cameron's getting the rights back to his baby, the Terminator franchise, in 2019, with the filmmaker acting as Godfather, i.e. the Kevin Feige type role over at Marvel, or the... I'm not sure if it's Kevin Tsuchihara anymore at DC. I think they might have changed that guy, but i.e. the same type of role. The guy who goes like, hey, we're going to start this universe, and all you directors have to adhere by these rules, but other than that, go nuts. James Cameron's going to be acting as Godfather for the new installment, in which Deadpool director Tim Miller was reportedly in talks to direct. Now, if Arnold Schwarzenegger is to be believed, the next installment could begin shooting as early as next year. So, Tim Miller, after leaving Deadpool 2, now gets the offer to work on a newly rebooted Terminator franchise. So what are your thoughts on James Cameron having his hand back in some sort of creative touch for a new Terminator franchise directed by the guy who did Deadpool?
I mean, I did not see the newer Terminator, but I do remember growing up in the 90s and enjoying watching them with my dad growing up. So maybe it would be good to see what they're going to do with the original touch again, but I don't know if I'm versed enough to have a good opinion on this one.
Well, the James Cameron, touched films are obviously Terminator and then Terminator 2 Judgment Day.
Right.
Those are, the big ones. And then after that, they went into Salvation, which was all set in the future of, older John Connor and all that, sending...
Didn't see those.
Yeah, his father back in time, and then the newest one was a reboot of, hey, we're in the future, and we're just going to retell the first movie, but with a different twist on it.
Yeah.
So we all good as far as that goes?
I think so.
Alrighty. Moving on, we have from Empire Magazine. They debuted another look at Pennywise from the upcoming adaptation of It. Images of Pennywise the Clown have been scarce, as the character has only really been featured in a few small Entertainment Weekly spreads, and the marketing material has mostly been obscured by shadows. He's also only been featured in quick shots or in the aforementioned trailer/TV spots. The new image now gives us a closer and more terrifying look at Pennywise, showing fans of the novel just exactly what the Losers Club will be up against. Willow, you see the image right here. What do you think of this nice, up-close look of Pennywise?
It's definitely a horror take on a clown, but I still don't get the thing of why people are afraid of clowns. That's me, but I definitely see how this is gonna take a...
You see, 20 years ago, the original It came out, and that scared the shit out of a whole bunch of kids going, oh, clowns, they can't be scary. Oh, God, I can't take a bath, I'm gonna die.
See, that's just funny to me. Um,
You're gonna show
but
Baba
yeah,
it like right after this, aren't you?
I don't know. My favorite, my favorite clown movie is still Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
I haven't seen it, but heard it was ridiculous.
Oh, but yeah. Back to Pennywise over here. He definitely does have that horror look, that evil grin. I can hear the laughter just by looking at the picture. So it's definitely to be able to evoke the right amount of emotion
Mm-hmm.
to
This is
scare
shaping up to
these
be
young children.
possibly the good adaptation of a Stephen King book / screenplay of this year, unlike Dark Tower, who is tanked horribly at the box office. And it's not for a lack of talent in that movie. I think they just approached it wrong. So, moving on, there's another picture here for Willow to look at while I read. And,
Alrighty.
you know, keeping with Empire magazine, they also released a new image of Steven Spielberg's Ready Player One, whose trailer was a smash hit during this year's San Diego Comic-Con. In the picture, Ty Sheridan as Wade Watts and Olivia Cook as Samantha Evelyn Cook. That's just a weird thing. While speaking with Empire, Cook says, that's just weird wording from this article. Cook says the experience was something of approaching a virtual dream come true. It felt like pure adventure. The Meet Your Own Guy Girl star told them it was like Willy Wonka, it was Indiana Jones. When you're a kid wanting to be an actor, the idea of working with Spielberg sounds surreal. It sounds absurd, so the experience was surreal. So, thoughts on this image of our first look at these characters from Ready Player One, who finally realized their young kid actor dreams of working with the one and only visionary Steven Spielberg. Bullshit or cool shit?
I think we're gonna have to go cool on this one because I've heard I don't know.
Speaking
This
on
looks
the
good.
image itself.
Image itself, it just looks so generic. I mean, I did not see the trailer. I don't know much just from what I've read here and there, but image alone, it's just, I could see something going on, but it's just not enough to really tell.
Yeah.
What do you
And
think?
for a quick little recap, since I did forget to do it, I'm calling a little bit of bullshit on Hellboy being changed from Blood Queen to regular old Hellboy. Calling cool shit on Tim Miller directed, James Cameron helmed Terminator, and I'm calling cool shit on this Pennywise image. And I'm calling bullshit on this Ready Player One image because it just looks
so vague.
Yeah, it's vague, very generic. Not a whole lot going on.
Yeah,
but I get
making eyes. There's that guy over there in the back, and I want to know what's he thinking. And yeah, that's about it.
There's that other chick being obscured in the way back, not the black chick, the white one. Okay, that sounded really racist. See, when you actually see this picture, the black chick's closer to the center of the camera, and the white one's further. But this stick me a fucking hole. Willow, help.
That's a chick? I thought that was a guy.
Can you really tell?
I'm not wearing my glasses.
I've already dug this fucking hole.
Okay, yeah. Bullshit on the picture. Too generic.
Alright, it is also being reported by... Or is also revealed by Covert Media CEO Paul Hansen that Katie Holmes has signed on to star in a feature film adaptation of The Secret that is directed by Home Sweet Home Alabama's Andy Tennant. The movie is based on the best-selling book by Rhonda Byrne, in which a hardworking young widow with 3 children hires a handyman to fix her house during a terrible storm. Are you calling bullshit or cool shit on Katie Holmes starring in a movie about her being
cool shit?
A widow and a handyman fixing her house during a storm?
Well, This blurb alone sounds like I probably read this book and don't remember it. But I'm gonna call cool shit. I haven't seen Katie Holmes act in a long time, and I do remember she was pretty good past Dawson's Creek.
I go, it's never a problem to go with talent, so I'll call cool shit as well. And description's just like, oh, the handyman's coming to fix her pipes during this storm or whatever. So, I'm calling cool shit on Katie Holmes finally starring in a porno.
Oh my god.
I'm sorry. A hard-working young widow with 3 children hires a handyman to fix her house. During a terrible storm. Oh no, this storm looks terrible. You might have to come inside for a little bit. It's all wet out there. It could get all wet in here too.
Oh my god,
This is derailed fast. Moving on. Our Cerisi, because I misspelled source variety. Claudia Lee has joined the cast of the coming-of-age skateboarding film Paved New World. Veteran producer Brad Crevoy is producing with Skate God, I don't know if that's self-proclaimed or not, you tell me, director Alexander Garcia, helming from a script by the writing team of Scart Marcano and Kip Coing. I have no idea their work. Garcia, formerly a pro skater himself, is also a producer on the project alongside producing partner Annie Stimmick, don't know who that is. Paved New World, which was originally set up at Disney during the 1990s, will take place in the summer of 1995. YouTube star and skateboarder Andy Schrock stars his hometown skateboarding hero named Gibby, caught in the middle of a midlife crisis. The film centers around on 2 teens who have just graduated from high school, heading off in different directions in life. Before they can embark on their new journeys, they must take their boards on a final trek across town to witness Gibby attempt to skate the unskateable Widowmaker Mountain, even though you're just out of high school, so it's more orphan making mountain. Or not orphan, but whatever it's called when you lose your kid. That one.
Sad.
As his last attempt to prove he is still the idol he once was. The Paved New World cast include YouTuber Chad Tepper, Daniel Pinder, and Camilla Allens of American Horror Story. Lee will portray a biker and the love interest of Pinder's character. Lee's credit include, I think, maybe, I'm not sure who we're talking about here. I lost track.
Lee.
Yes. Their credits include The Heart of Dixie, Kick-Ass 2, and The Girl in the Photograph. This is why we do this live in one take, so you can hear me ramble and sound like an idiot. Cool shit or bullshit on, I guess, the whole thing. We can break
Bullshit.
it up in parts. Bullshit?
I mean, come on. We're doing a movie that is based on a roller coaster from the 90s.
But what about Tomorrowland?
I get that the 90s are cool again, but I remember
Whoa.
the 90s.
What do you mean, cool again?
We were cool. I was cool.
Cool
I
hipster
think.
mom who knows how to hang with the cool kids.
But no, this just no. But I just see bullshit all over the place on this.
Yeah, I mean, I give films the benefit of the doubt, but this premise is kinda total bullshit for me. So, now moving on to another story, breaking the order here a little bit, Willow, because I really want to end on that one note. So, it also recently came out that Leonardo DiCaprio will play a character he's always wanted to play, and it's even his namesake, and that is none other than artist and inventor Leonardo da Vinci in an upcoming biopic for Paramount. DiCaprio will also produce the film. Not allegedly, it did happen. Paramount and Universal engaged in a bidding war over the property, which Paramount has won to the tune of 7 figures. So, although bullshit or cool shit on Paramount buying the rights to a Leonardo da Vinci movie to the tune of 7 figures, and bullshit or cool shit on Leonardo DiCaprio playing Leonardo da Vinci.
Well, I don't know how I feel about this.
You don't know?
Because all I'm remembering is Leonardo DiCaprio in those other period movies. The Man Behind the Iron Mask, Romeo and Juliet, Titanic. I mean, he's done a lot of historical. But I'm just...
Yeah, him playing a real person's kind of nothing new.
Right.
And
I mean, he's good.
He finally got his Oscar.
Finally, yeah. I'm going with cool.
I'm going with cool shit as well. Now, if only they can get him and Michael Fassbender together for Assassin's Creed 2, the movie. That's never gonna fucking happen.
No, it isn't.
Anyhow, now for our final story of the proverbial evening. Entertainment Weekly has reached out to Ben Affleck on his thoughts on the quite extensive $20 to $30 million reshoots on Justice League. Here's what he had to say. It's a little bit unorthodox. Zack had a family tragedy and stepped off, which was horrible for the movie. The best person we could have possibly found was Joss. We got really lucky that he stepped in. Affleck, who had helmed the Best Picture-winning Argo, describes the resulting film as an interesting product of 2 directors, both with kind of unique visions, both with really strong takes. I never had that experience making a movie before. I have to say, I really love working with Zack, and I really love the stuff we've done with Joss. Now, as for the extent of the reshoots, Affleck downplayed their significance by pointing out that Argo and Gone Baby Gone both had days of reshoots, but the scale of this Justice League additional photography, not to mention Affleck's comments, seem to suggest there's a little more than meets the eye going on. Regardless, Affleck does seem pleased with how the film and the whole DCU as a whole right now is turning out, while also seemingly admitting that Batman v Superman fell short of his own expectations. Back to Affleck saying, "This is a really nice time to work in DC. They're finally hitting their stride, they're getting it right, it's starting to feel like it's really working." Now personally, I'm a little concerned of the starting to feel like it's really working, because the implication of everything else hasn't. But regardless of your thoughts on any of the DCEU films, Justice League should be a spectacle no matter what, seeing a mash of styles of Zack Snyder and Joss Whedon, and of course the Justice League, but remember and never forget the mustache! Willow, do you know about the mustache? Because you shouldn't forget the mustache! Shit, my headphones fell off. You got really into saying the mustache!
Calm your mustache down there a little bit. Whose mustache are we talking about?
So, for those who don't know, first of all, I'm calling actually cool shit, because I believe he sort of has the same things, and, Justice League, the only thing I'd have issue with is they rush out an unfinished movie. Like, I have no problem with them pushing this back, so maybe it doesn't have to compete with fucking Thor. Then again, they'd then be pushed back to compete with Black Panther, and then that would be pushed back to compete with Avengers, and they really don't have a good time to push this back to. Anyhow, the mustache thing is, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago. Henry Cavill is cast in Mission Impossible 6, and he's on location shooting when they started getting these reshoots. And he had to grow a mustache for this role. So when he got called in by Warner Brothers to do the reshoots, he could not shave his mustache. And you may ask yourself, well, why couldn't a man shave his mustache? Turns out, per his contract of Mission Impossible 6, he's contractually obligated to keep his mustache, forcing Warner Brothers to have to digitally remove said mustache. So whenever you see Superman, spoiler alert, he didn't die at the end of BVS, but we all knew that because the dirt started floating like in the last 2 frames of the movie, and could have just cut it 2 frames early and we'd have been fine. But anyhow, just know any part of his upper lip is gonna be all digital. Henry Mustache. Super Mustache. Mustache Man. So, bullshit or cool shit on Affleck's comments?
Definitely cool shit, but I just see myself now doing the movie. It's gonna be like a find the editing.
And bullshit or cool shit on Henry Cavill's unshavable mustache?
Okay, can I just call hilarious? That's enough.
Yes.
Yes.
That was hysterical, some might say. Oh, and I guess in other movie news that dropped today, I just did think of this.
Yes.
We're going off the rails here. It's no secret if you watch this channel, I'm a fan of this little internet sensation called Teamfourstar. It has been revealed they are doing the dub of the Studio Madhouse film, Hells. Well, though, bullshit or cool shit that TFS gets to actually dub a Studio Madhouse film.
That is freaking cool. It's a great opportunity for them. They probably are a lot smaller than a lot of us really think they are, who actually are the diehard fans, and getting out there, it's great for them.
Exactly. This is, of course, being done through Sound Cadence Studios, which is owned by Amber Lee Connards and Howard Wang, a bunch of other really talented people. So, I find that really cool. And speaking of anime, turns out in my What to See this weekend, a little movie that is in limited release for the next couple weeks didn't make it on my list. And since we are talking anime, it is an anime film that was dubbed over by Funimation. Because Funimation is awesome. It is called, if I can pull up my movie app real quick. Stalling for time. Internet, do your job. It is called In This Corner of the World. And it looks really pretty. And apparently, oh wow, it is a hand-drawn animated film. So that in and of itself should be awesome. But the little blurb on the movie is, In This Corner of the World is an incredibly exquisite, artful, and socially relevant film that will impact everyone who sees it. We're really proud in presenting this remarkable hand-drawn animated film to the North American audience, said Melissa Bogue, Shout, Senior Vice President of Kids and Family Entertainment. Funimation Films has a great track record in launching prominent international animated movies across cinemas in North America. We couldn't find a more committed and perfect company to join us in the launch of the world. So from what I understand, this movie takes place during, follows this girl around a couple days and maybe a couple days after the bombing of Hiroshima in 1945.
Oh.
In Japan. So I guess enough time has passed where they can do an actual dramatic hand-drawn animated story about Americaing the fuck out of Japan. No, but it's a tragedy and millions of people died, and we should not have fucked with that much power. But anywho, the movie, at least from my perspective, looks really pretty, so I believe you type in the name of the movie in Google and look up Funimation Films, it should show you theaters near you that are playing, sometimes not near you. Like for me, for instance, I'd have to drive about an hour to see it if I really wanted to see it. But, you know, I do want to shout out the smaller films, especially the foreign ones, like Your Name, which is getting a Blu-ray release late September, early November, or October, I forget which one. Later this year in the fall, it's getting a Blu-ray release, and Your Name was just a really good movie. So if we can get more films kind of like that to be a bit more widespread, we can maybe get better adaptations across the road. So, I guess what I'm trying to say here is bullshit or cool shit on In This Corner of the World, the story of this girl during counting the events of Hiroshima. Like a little before and a little after.
Yeah, from her perspective, I'm definitely calling it cool. I pulled this up. This art looks gorgeous. Definitely looks like a good artistic piece.
There we go. So I did remember, which is why that segment was a little thing, because it's doing it off the top of my head. It wasn't all written down, wasn't all nice and clean, like, never forget the mustache!
The joys of being live.
Yes, the joys of being live and not edited. With our cool graphic that everyone will totally appreciate. And not just throw the video on in the background while they do whatever it is they do. And I guess that wraps up the show. Again, if you ever have any movie-related questions or things don't make sense, feel free to @ me on Twitter with your question, or... yeah, just feel free to @ me on Twitter with your question, and I'll be sure to try and answer it on one of these shows. You can find me at Team Niederdorf pretty much everywhere. And Willow, where can people find you if you want them to find you, like a stalker?
I am on Twitter at Willow Red Raven, as well as at Willow Red Raven everywhere else.
Because she will find you. And she will I'm sorry. We're not cutting that. We're keeping it. You can't stop me. You can't stop me. I'm the one who has the power to end this recording. Anyhow, thank you all for watching. Until next time, enjoy this closing music for YouTube and whatnot. Bye-bye. Say bye to the people, Willow.
Bye-bye.
You